Today, boys, we're going to talk about all of these. I got an awesome garage talk for you guys. I grabbed a whole bunch of baits from Tackle Warehouse, as you can see. And the trick is, the theme to all these baits is they all have to do with fall fishing and the fall to winter fishing transition. So I got each one of these for an in particular type of technique, approach, cover, and there's some fun ones. There's some new stuff in here. So let's get right to it, dude. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button if you like real fishing content, because literally I'm gonna put these baits in my boat and I'm gonna go start fishing. Fall is a lot about bait, and if you guys have been watching the videos, following the bait, mimicking bait like shad, small minnows is a big deal. And that's why I got some chatterbaits. I finally grabbed some evergreen chatterbaits, the Jackhammers, and then I also have, this is the chatterbait custom. This is sort of the cheaper version. What's interesting though is I grabbed some in some different weights. The majority of chatterbaits that I'll throw are half ounce. I'd say for almost 90% of the year, with the exception maybe being spring. And it's interesting because fall is a little bit like spring. I will grab a half ounce chatterbait. It's the most standard presentation you can make. But I grabbed some 3/8 as well. The reason being is what you find in fall a lot is these fish get higher in the water column, so you might be fishing a little bit deeper, but the fish are following the bait, which is a little bit higher. So a little bit lighter bait, keeping it up in the water column is key. I got some cool colors though. This is one of my favorites that I want to show you. I'm a big fan of like green stuff. So this Jackhammer is sort of, I don't know, it's sort of Mikey's favorite color, you could say. It has a sort of nice sort of pearl skirt to it right there, and yet it has sort of like a green kind of tinge. And what that does, for me at least, even though these fish are for the most part focused on bait, it also looks a little bit like the brim that are sort of remaining around the grass and that. So you kind of kill two birds with one stone, if you will. But I absolutely love these guys. We're gonna slide them over. I got another kind of like newish sort of thing. A lot of times with that chatterbait, we'll be ripping it out of the grass and get that reaction strike. Traps are awesome. Yeah, just your sort of rattle bait, your rattle trap style bait. So I grabbed some of these. This is a Biospawn Rattlebot. It's this new shaped kind of rattle trap style bait. And one thing that I've really learned here on Gunnersville, fishing the TVAs, these fish love traps, but being slightly different and doing the same thing. It's kind of a theme that we talk about all the time, is a huge deal to getting more bites. And what's interesting about this guy, just like we talk about like a one knocker versus like a BB kind of multi BB kind of knocker that has that high tinge, this guy has a different shape to it. You can see it has that normal sort of rattle trap sort of like shape to it, but it also has these sort of vents or these sort of kind of lanes in it that are going to cause it to have a different vibration. You still have that flat nose, but as you can see, there's two nodules that pass through the side of the bait. There's two things that I think are going to happen with this. One, and the most important part, is the vibration of the bait is going to be somewhat different. You still have a bunch of BBs in there if you guys can hear them. It's your standard sort of style rattle bait, but I think it's going to be able to be fished slower because you have those channels. You can slow roll it, and that water pressing through those channels is going to allow you to slow roll this bait and get it to slightly vibrate a lot, with a lot less reel tension and a lot less reels than your traditional rattle trap baits. But the biggest thing is the sound and the vibration that it's going to put off. It's going to be very unique compared to your standard sort of rattle trap style baits. Kytek's, I got a 3.3 and a 2.8, I think, down in here somewhere. These are the 3.3s. They're rib style swim baits, super soft. One of the reasons that a Kytek is so popular this time of year, one, because of the sizing. They come a little smaller. A lot of the bait is pretty small in fall, but it's also because of the tails. And the tail on these guys is super duper thin. And what that means is I can put this thing out. This is actually another thing I have. This is what I rig it up on. These are a Scottsboro Tackle Hellfire ball heads. It's a finesse ball head style jig. Great for spots, largemouth, whatever, but great with a Kytek. A ball head and a Kytek is a killer presentation this time of year in fall. But the skinny tail really allows you to slow roll that bait super duper slow, but still get that wagging action that you're looking for. I can barely turn the reel on my spinning rod or a light bait caster, like a medium action bait caster, and still get that tail to kick. And especially as we get into that winter fall transition, when the water temp just gets a little bit colder and they're not reacting as quickly to a faster reel bait, That slow tail wag is huge, and I love it on these ball heads. What's interesting too is you can see these are 1/4 ounce ball heads. A majority of the time that's what I'll be using, even if I'm fishing say 30 feet deep for like big spots or something along those lines. And it's because I can fish that bait so slow and keep it down because of that very subtle tail wag. What other fun stuff? As long as we're talking about like spots and like more finesse techniques, something that I've been kind of keyed into are these guys, which is the Dimiki Rig, and I got one other fun one down here that these guys have shown me. This guy, the Dirty Jigs Guppy Head. What I'm going to be doing with these guys, a Dimiki Rig is pretty much a sort of vertical style presentation. You drop it down to fish that you see on your active target, on your graph, and you're basically vertically jigging it at whatever suspended depth that they're at. We talked about the bait being higher in the water column. Basically, you're targeting the fish that are targeting that bait that's up in the water column, but you're doing it more in a vertical presentation versus horizontal. But hold on, because check this out. My buddy Tyler Wilcott taught me like kind of a cool technique, and I've done it with Kytek with the ball head that we've talked about before. And basically what you do, you can do it with these guppy heads. The reason I have these guppy heads is they have a little bit different keeper on them, so I can put a slightly different bait on them. The keeper on the Dimiki heads are a little, I guess it's a little more of a wire keeper. It's a little different, so I can put some smaller stuff on there, some bigger stuff on these. These are 3/8 ounce. What you do with this though is you take it on the spinning rod, little medium heavy or medium action spinning rod, 8-pound, 10-pound test. You pitch it out. Basically, you'll find fish on active target, and you pitch it out, and just like I would normally sort of pendulum down a Kytek swim bait, you'll pendulum this down using, say, like a, I don't know, a Gambler's Shaky Shad, a little kind of little baby Fluke Junior, some kind of small little bait mimicking bait, and you'll pendulum it down, and that bait will literally kind of swing through the fish that you're seeing on your active target or on your graph. And that slightly different look, sort of that unrestricted sort of penduluming action, gets a ton of bites, especially from spots. We did it, me and Tyler did it out on Smith. It was a super cool bite, and it's almost like flipping the deep water fish. You're just kind of flipping that bait out there, letting it swing down, and they eat it. It's super cool, and it's a lot like that Kytek slow roll presentation that we make, over structure, over points. These are do it. They're basically little screw locks, and I got these guys for 2 reasons. All you tournament guys know why I got these things. We call them hitchhikers, and what they are little screw locks that allow us to put a bait onto them. You can see them right there. It's just a little kind of like screw kind of deal with a small little loop hook. And what you can do is you can put a bait, whether it's a swim bait, a worm, whatever, onto this guy without a hook. And the reason is, for one, A-rig season is a big deal during that winter, during that fall to winter transition, even right now. And in Tennessee, I can only have 3 baits on an A-rig, so I need to go ahead and put 2 of these on so I can have teasers, basically baits without hooks. The other thing, for all you guys kind of learning how to fish tournaments and that, you can use this when you're fishing a soft plastic around grass, around cover, when you don't want to use a hook and you don't want to hook fish, but you want to feel fish bite the bait. Me and my buddy Donnie Bass do this a lot when we're fishing the Roland Martin Marine Series. When I was his sub, we would basically flip mats and put like a burner crawl, a why not, a BB cricket on this guy with a 1.5 ounce weight. You pitch it in and you feel the fish bite it, but then you're not actually hooking them. You can kind of feel the fish, feel them swim around, get a feel for how big the fish is, see how many bites you get during the day, but you're not really spoiling your spot and burning your spot and hooking every fish that you're gonna want to catch, say 2, 3, 4 days from now. It's a big tournament play, dude, and a great deal when you know you have A-rigs, but you have different restrictions in different states, and you need to restrict the amount of hooks that you have on an A-rig. Very cool deal. Another thing when it comes to terminal tackle stuff are these guys. And these guys, you guys probably know a ton about these, even more than me, but fall is all about bait, and bait really looks like a spinner blade. And these guys are the Flashy Swimmers from Owner. Basically, it's a screw lock hook with Owner's, I think it has the centering pin on it, which is absolutely awesome. You can see it has that little centering pin right on there, which makes it really easy to thread your bait on. But all it is a little arm that has a blade on it with a belly weight. Perfect way to rig up a swim bait. You can even use a stick bait, a fluke, any of these types of items. One critique I have for this, I wish they made these with some smaller hooks and heavier weights so you could put some smaller baits on them. But basically this blade will spin as you reel it, giving sort of some flash, but it also looks like a small group of fish or minnows. It kind of gives just a little bigger presentation without actually being a bigger bait. And it's a great way to fish grass or cover, because when you rig that swim bait up on that screw lock just like that, it's a weedless or a snagless presentation. But a great way to fish grass, all this sparse grass that we have on Gunnersville and the TVA that sort of dies down throughout fall and the bait gets in it over the top of it. You can put a big old swim bait through it, get some flash like you would with a spinner bait, but not worry about all the grass and all the snags. Viper rattles. So frog season has not been like very good this year, at least like on Gunnersville. It's been hit or miss. But it's gonna happen at some point. Whether that some point is for 4 days, whether that some point is for 2 weeks, you never know. But really, you're fishing a lot of this mucky kind of scum, and you need your frog to, one, weigh a little bit more so it creates a trail through the scum, and then you also want it to make some sound so you can call those fish out of it. So what we do is we take these rattles and we jam them inside the frog to give it more weight and give it more sound. What else do we got down here? Oh, there's my 2.8 Kytek. Oh, new stuff. I grabbed some jerkbaits. These are the Hank Cherry Berkeley Stunners. These are the 112s, but what's interesting is they're a little bit longer than the Vision 110 that I absolutely love, and actually the Vision 110 that he won the Gunnersville Bassmaster Classic on. So they're slightly longer, 2 millimeters, which isn't much. But what's really cool is they offer a 112 plus 1 and then a standard 112. Really the difference between a plus 1 and a standard is basically it dives about a foot or two deeper. Usually it's more like about 2 feet or so. A plus 2, say on my 110s, it'll run like 6 foot, maybe 7 if I'm using really light line, whereas on a standard 110 it'll run like about 3 foot, maybe 4 foot depending on water density. But what's really cool is the price point. These guys are definitely cheaper than the Visions, the Mega Bass version, but the color finishes are pretty much second to none. They look really good. I gotta give Berkeley some credit. Another one that I actually have is this cane walker right here. You guys have seen this, I'm not gonna kind of bore you with it, but Berkeley has been throwing down on some pretty sick hard baits of late, and they're basically putting out pretty high quality baits with pretty decent hooks for price points that are about 50%, maybe 30% less than what your sort of niche manufacturers are kicking them out for. And the actions on them have been good. The cane walker walks, pops beautifully. I catch them on it, and I'm expecting the same behavior from these 112s. I'm kind of super stoked to get out because fall is a perfect time to jack them on a jerkbait. My buddy sent me some awesome baits. These are Biz baits. These are soft plastic. You guys know how much I love to Ned rig, and fall can be really good for Ned rigging with spots. This is a little Ned rig bait. It has a little kind of like tail on it, like a diamond tail, yet it's still nice and round and grabs the hook very easily. It's your standard soft plastic. It's not elastic or anything like that, but I've been having fun with these because they have sort of a gliding, dragging motion when you pitch them out to like a bluff wall or like a rock wall, and they've been pretty cool. I've been experimenting quite a bit with them. You're not going to see me throwing a Ned rig that much until maybe later winter, and that's pretty much then the only soft plastic that I'll be throwing all winter until we go on down to Florida. 2 more, and they're both hard baits. You notice kind of the theme overall, other than maybe swim baits and that Ned, is pretty much we're talking about hard baits for fall and winter, and especially as we cross over fully from that fall and winter transition, it's going to be almost all hard baits with the exception of swim baits. But this guy's a sneaky one. This is a 1/4 ounce red eye shad in one of my favorite colors, the green gizzard shad. The reason I like this guy, and we talked about it with the chatterbait, the Jackhammer, is the bait is light so it stays up in the water column. The bait, the actual bait that these fish are chasing, is usually up in the water column, and it's also a lot more petite. It's a more compact trap, a little more subtle, a little softer vibration. It is perfect for mimicking the smaller shad. When you get bass that are schooling on these little sort of fingerling shad, and you're just like, what the hell am I supposed to throw to these guys? I don't have anything that tiny. This is a great reactive bait. You can do a lot with it too. You can yo-yo it, kind of fish it almost like a spoon, or kind of like pop it up and stroke it. You can reel it, and what's nice with a trap too, in comparison to a lot of crankbaits, it's very hard to wash out or basically make a trap style bait like this, a rip bait, run untrue, so you can burn this joker. And one of the best techniques during fall is to really move a bait super duper fast, sort of give these fish no time to look at it and get, I guess what you call a complete reaction strike from them. And this is a good option for that, especially if you got a little bit of chop on the water. Absolutely killer, 1/4 ounce trap. And last but not least, I finally picked up some of these guys. This is the OG Slim Rapala. It's Octofo's bait. It's Looks absolutely sick. I've actually thrown one. My buddy had one in his boat and he let me throw it about a month ago. The action on this thing is super, super cool. It's got that computer kind of board lip right there. What's cool with it is it has that rounded lip versus a square bill, which leads to a little more subtle action. I actually like that kind of bill a little bit more around grass as well. It's also good around wood. It has that same body that's been super popular that I have actually loved for years, and it used to be I could only get very few baits in this. I had a Megabass Sonic side, but that flat-sided profile, even outside of winter times, has been an absolute killer. I don't know if it's because the subtlety of the action, the tightness of the action, but as you get into winter especially, you want that tighter wobble. That's why they love traps and spoons, like these super subtle but reaction style baits. But just a well-made bait. When I threw it, I absolutely loved it. It goes a little bit deeper than a DT6, but it's a little bit bigger body profile as well, very buoyant. But the paint finish is awesome. They finally started making stuff at Rapala in that green gizzard shad color, and I absolutely love it. But that's a wrap on kind of like my fall and winter transition baits. If you guys got anything to add, as usual, drop them down in the comments box. I love hearing your bait sort of recommendations. I don't actually totally love it because then I go buy more stuff from Tackle Warehouse, but that's on me, bro. But make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Hope you guys enjoyed this bait review, and I'm gonna go get this stuff packed in the boat and get out on the water and go try to catch a few. So we'll see you next time, either talking here from the garage or back out on the water. Tight lines.